I'm very much of you've got to keep Shaun Wane in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to keep him in. He does have credit in the bank, and I think like 12 months away from a World Cup, you've got to let him see out that tournament.
Hello everybody and welcome to Back 10 here at All Out Rugby League, powered by Smart Energy GB, leading the smart meter rollout across Great Britain. With the smart meter, you can tackle your energy use head on and find smarter ways to save at home. Well, the Ashes is over and we're ready to dive into all things rugby league, and I cannot think of a better guest to join us here this week. He is the most capped player for England of all time. He's the host of The Bye Round, one of the leading rugby league podcasts across the world, and also former St Helens and Canterbury Bulldogs prop forward. I'm delighted to welcome our guest, Jimmy, Jammer, James. Which one are we calling you this week?
Whatever you want, man. Thanks for the introduction. I can think of about 10 people that I'd rather have on in this seat to give you a better insight. But mate, I love the read. Honestly, mate, that if you're not inspired to get a smart meter, look, I'm off grid. I rob from the I might even get one in. Like, I'm so enthused about this smart meter. I am going to get one.
Well, there you go. Make sure you get one. Leading the rollout across Great Britain. You've heard it from...
Do they do it to Australia? Like, if I can get it plugged in...
Just Great Britain for now. Just Great Britain. But look, mate, all jokes aside, how's your time been over in England? We saw you obviously doing the punditry across BBC, but what else have you been up to since you've been here?
Yeah, so... The main reason for me coming over was actually leading a tour for a travel company called Rugby League Experience. So around about 150, 160 Australians, and I'm sort of like a tour leader.
Social captain?
Yeah, I'd give it a decent nudge once or twice, Kyle. Some things never change, but it was a lot of fun, and got to give them credit. It's a big investment of time, of finances. I wasn't the only touring party, and there was many Australians that came over, and I think it's great for the international game. Our game sounds a bit cheesy, but it's nothing without the fans. And for international rugby league to thrive, we need the fans to travel both ways. So credit to them for that. And then picked up a bit of work on the Beeb as well, so yeah, it was nice. No,
it was great to obviously hear and see that. But obviously, you're right to mention other parties leading a group of Australians. Of course, we had last week Willie Mason on, and obviously
was that Willie Mason, or was that just a cutout?
Was
that AI?
It was that Justin Horrod brought a very tired, hungover bear with him. That's what it was like.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you for one second.
It's not in Willie's character, is it?
No. I think you've purposely gone out your way to use some snazzy editing skills to try and make him look bad.
Well, look, before we get into this week's show, remember we want to hear from you guys at home in that comment section. Remember to swipe left across there to reveal that hype button, and hitting that hype button allows us to reach much farther and wider audiences, so we can keep bringing you shows just like Back 10 and everything else here at All Out Rugby League. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss a single beat here at Back 10. But for now, as we say each and every week, let's get into the show. Well, it's been an intense couple of weeks over the Ashes series, but of course it saw Australia defeating the English side 3-0, and what seemed a lot of hope a couple of weeks ago has now turned into a bit of disappointment and dare I say anger. Jimmy, what have you thought over the last 3 weeks of what you saw?
Just before we start, I want to say congratulations to you both on starting this show. Genuinely, I've never been more engaged in the Super League since being away from home. Like, look, I'll look at the results of certain games here and there, and I'll follow the competition. But probably the issues in the game that you two bring, the guests that you've had on, it's been great to listen to, and I've actually cared more about it thanks to you two. So
that's very,
cheers,
that's
gents.
very nice.
Kyle's ego's through the roof.
Secretly, I'm just getting there.
No, but it's great. Our game over here needs more of this, more conversation, more debate. Like, unfortunately, it doesn't get that on the mainstream. So what you've both done and the team behind the scenes is sensational. What have I made of the Ashes series? Like, look, we were sold the Ashes series on last time out 2003.
Yeah.
Each 3 games, all of those 3 games, they went down to the wire. England were winning with 5 to 10 minutes to go. Australia, showed their class and got over at the end. So that's ingrained in our brain. It's like the last time out. So we're sort of a level of expectation there. Then, all right, last time England played Australia, the 6-0 battle in Brisbane, that was an ankle tap away from levelling things up. And you never know, but I firmly believe that England would have had the momentum and gone on with that. Mm-hmm. So this is what is is being sold to the British public, the English public, the fans of rugby league, and it didn't reach that level. But maybe those levels were, not where they actually should be. We know Australia has a greater depth of playing talent at the moment. We look at the results, but there's some underlying issues for the game over here that I feel it needs to resolve if they're going to get again closer to where Australia are. And if England had just played France and beat them 3-0, are we having the big inquest into the French coach? Like, well, you go no, because England have got better players than what France have. It'd be a realistic expectation for England to have beaten France 3-0.
Yeah.
Because that's what and maybe we got sold a bit of a dream. I thought our forwards did really well. And they matched that intensity. They bought passion, they bought aggression, they bought line speed. We were just found wanting in a couple of areas. Obviously, Australia's defence, I've got to give them credit. It's the hardest part of the game to do.
Yeah.
And they did it exceptionally. The desperation on display. And that was epitomised for me by last game, dead rubber, Reece Walsh going just in case. He ends up in the stand. Mm. Brett Morris actually did the same at St Helens Ground in the 2013 World Cup. He was out for half a season with a busted shoulder. Like, Reece Walsh was going just in case. Like, that's dedication, that's commitment to defence. And look, you've got to come up with ways to get around that. It took a moment of brilliance from Jez Litton and then George Williams in support as well. Australia's defence was absolutely first class. And then I thought England defended well in moments, but we missed some moments, especially game 3. Yeah. Like,
there was that sort of 40 to 60 minute, wasn't it, in game 3, where it just seemed that England were battering Australia in terms of field position, and they just couldn't create anything, though, could they? Do you know, it needed something. It's easy sat here now.
Yeah,
in hindsight.
well, of course it needed something different.
It needed something more.
I think, like, if you review the game from an analytical point of view, first 2 tries, like, Morgan Knowles and Tino Fasuamala-Awe have a bit of a set too. So the referee stops the game. So the defensive line is set. You shouldn't score there.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was quite easy as well, wasn't it?
It was an easy read from Munster over the top.
Yeah.
Shouldn't score from there. Look, Mikey Lewis, not a fullback. But you got to you got to be willing to stop that. Look, like the example, Reece Walsh. He put himself in the stand. He was willing to risk an injury to get that. I don't care if and I think Mikey Lewis is a fantastic player. But
you just got to be brave at that, haven't you? Or put your foot right through it.
Yeah, he's well within his right to win that contest. He was in the better position than Hudson Young.
Yeah.
And then, we talk about that sustained pressure that England had just after half time. England bounced, Australia sort of get themselves in a position. Harry Grant goes over from dummy half. It's just those little moments that, Australia don't present those opportunities to you. And maybe that was the difference as we look at, the attack from England. But why were we presenting these opportunities?
What have you just flipping hats? What did you make of the Aussies' performance in terms of their standards?
Like I say, defensively, they did the hardest part of the game really well. They showed that they care for the jersey. That's what Kevy, Gordon Tallis, Willie Peters brought to the table. Like, you look at combinations and maybe they struggled to find points, and they were, maybe you could say, a bit ill-disciplined with the ball. But if you've got that trust in your defence, you can afford to do that. And I thought defensively outstanding. Attack probably wasn't at its absolute peak, its absolute best. But when you've got defence like that, you can afford to be sloppy with the ball.
I agree. I wasn't overly impressed with the Aussies. Defensively, I was, but other than that, I think England will have completed higher over the course of the series. I think the interesting stat will be play the balls within the opposition's 20. I bet England had way more than the Aussies, yet they scored twice in 3 games. And that's the thing with the Kangaroos. The defence was just far, far better. That was fundamentally the difference between the two teams, wasn't it? I'm with you. I thought in the middle of the field, I thought England possibly better, to be honest. I think they were possibly the better pack.
And this, I think that's a fair reflection. I thought Australia's edge back rowers, though, were really good in Crichton and Hudson Young, and I thought that the plays to those two in particular were really effective. They used them up, that generated opportunities out the back. But England can take credit that Nwangani Tuase didn't get a try. No tries for Staggs, no try for Shibasaki. So there's elements there that they can be positive with. But I think Kyle, for people like me and you that look back in your career and you think about opportunities that were there that maybe didn't get taken, and Australia with the ball, like before the ball was kicked, you would have loved to have taken. You have gone, I'll take that, 100%. Like, and I'll back our attack. Again, I spoke about the difference France-England, but we would have believed we can compete with this. Yeah. What do we need? We need to play really well. We sort of hope. If Australia bring their best, it's going to be tough, but we're going to try and put them off our game. So for them to attack how they did, like that opportunity, it's like, I think that's where the frustration comes from.
Well, Gemma, a lot was made about selection going into this. No Jake Connor, man of steel. The halfbacks, that's been the conundrum heading into the tournament. Who would be that half combination? They started with George and Mikey. Then they've gone Harry and George. And then obviously Mikey ends up, he has to fill in at fullback for AJ Brimson. But look, Jake Connor, you can throw in Matty Nicholson, Victor Radley, of course, Junior Nsemba, Luke Thompson. Do you think that any of those would have changed the outcome of what happened over the last 3 weeks, potentially or not?
I guess the answer to that, Kyle, is I don't know.
Yeah.
But, there are some players there that a lot of people would have had in their England 24-man squad, and a lot of would have had in their starting 17 or their starting 13 or 17-day match day squad. But that's the job of the coach, to pick the team that he thinks can win, or pick a squad that can win a test series, and he hangs his hat on that.
But sorry, Jam, of those 5 names that I just mentioned there, only one of them's a back in Connor. So the forward pack,
exactly.
Really, you can't really. I think the way the forward pack played, you have to tip your hat to
them,
exactly.
Yeah,
Cal Watkins went after them.
On an edge. I thought he was sensational.
I thought Callum Watkins was fantastic. Really gone under the radar. I think the one's Connor, isn't it? At the end of the day, we talk about how much good ball England had. They scored 2 tries in 3 games. One's a barge over in the last minute. They've not really brought them down. The best player at unpicking defences all season in Super League's been Jake Connor.
What have you made of that, Jammer?
Look, I've probably not like I say, watched enough of Jake play this year, but wins Man of Steel, all the, the opinions of the people that matter sort of suggest that he should be there. And I think, one of the important elements of playing Australia is belief that you can actually win. I think maybe in game one, like the first half, we created opportunities and it sort of slaps you in the face and you're like, oh yeah, we can compete with these. Jake doesn't need to go through that because he's been there and done that before on the international stage. He's played against Australia before. And I think, the like Brimson coming in for Wellesby, that was maybe a move because AJ plays there week in, week out. And I think with Jake, he'd have the confidence. Like I've been with Jake and I've always enjoyed his company. Like, good fella, and he's pretty confident in his ability, and he's got that. And I've seen him go up against Joey Manu before. He did not. And Joey Manu, best centre in the game at the time. Do you think Jake cared, mate? Jake gave Willie Manu a bath, like, and he was the best centre in the game at that time. Like, Jake doesn't care about reputations. And like, you can look at, you look at the skill factor and creativity, he'd give it to them.
Yeah.
And I think the forwards were willing, but maybe the backs are a bit standoffish. And for me, again, I don't know the inner workings of it, but for me, that alone is evidence to say I'd have had him in the picture.
Matt, just before we move on, again, we sit in here with hindsight, don't we? Do you think that the way, where each game was played, they maybe got it wrong? Because for me, it felt like they should have done it the reverse. It felt like Wembley should have been the last game, really.
Well, I wouldn't have had a game at Wembley. And I said that before the series. I don't think as a home venue, which England wanted it to be, it works.
It's a national stadium, though.
I know, but did you enjoy the atmosphere of that game?
No.
And that for me, 2 minutes into that game, it felt flat. The atmosphere felt flat. I didn't think it worked for England at all. You compared it to the first 10 minutes at Everton, which was thunderous, and that felt like a proper home international day. It was fantastic. Headingley, I thought the atmosphere was really good for a dead rubber. I thought they really got behind the team. I'd have definitely had Everton first. I would have had it Headingley. I wouldn't have had Wembley. And I personally think there's a bigger conversation to have about rugby league's future with Wembley. Personally, I just don't think it suits the sport's needs. I think the Challenge Cup, I love the Challenge Cup final weekend. It's fantastic and it's big, and I know that everyone wants to play at Wembley. I don't know if it actually helps the game.
Jam, you're a proud Englishman. What's chance to play at Wembley?
Yeah, look, it's obviously got like historical like feeling there, but I'm a little bit with Matt. It's like, look, probably let's look at if England win that game, we're probably not having the same conversation.
We're not.
And that was brought up but by a couple of colleagues, and I sort of tend to agree, but I think as well that there's bigger things at play here, and it didn't come through well to the audience for me. Like
Newcastle would have been a good shout, wouldn't it?
World Cup opener, it was tremendous.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you think about the effort for the British fans to travel, or the English fans to travel down there.
Yeah.
Like it like the price of the train ticket, if you stay over, it was
expensive.
Like I'd love to see for was the 60,000 there? I don't know, but I'd love to see where those people came from. Like I don't know if there was many of the London crowd, going to the event, and like why could that not be sold out? Like I think there's some issues there, but again, around our game of rugby league of where it's at, that does not look good.
No.
I agree.
It doesn't look important, but games 2 and games 3, that does. Yeah. That really does.
I came away from the second game feeling like it was I watched it back when I through the week as well, and it felt like a huge sporting event.
Yeah.
It felt like a really important event in the sporting calendar, not just rugby league. But so I thought they nailed that. But look, moving on, let's sort of address the elephant in the room that's been spoken about already. Shaun Wane, right? 2019, Wayne Bennett has a bit of a miserable time with the Lions, and after the success of what he did in 2017, getting them into that 6-0 loss in the final, Wayne Bennett was decided or sacked or not renewed or whatever. There's a lot of noise around the future of Shaun Wane. Matt, where do you think this ends up?
It's a good question. I don't envisage the RFL getting rid of Shaun Wane, if I'm honest, for a few reasons. I think the people who make that call are Rabia Cook, who's an interim chair, and Nigel Wood, who's in an interim role as well. They're only supposed to be until about March. Are they going to want to make that sort of call? Is that the sensible thing to do for interim people to make calls like that? So for that, regardless of that, well, look, I think your big thing there for me has to be you have to speak to the players. Whoever goes through that process to speak to the players, get feedback from them, honest feedback. Because look, we all know, and you guys have been there. You're never going to come out when a coach under pressure and not back them. Everyone's asked the same questions of the players, and they've backed them. It's been a wonderful camp. It's been this. They're not going to. It's a pointless question, isn't it? Because of course they're going to say that. Someone needs to go and have honest conversations behind the scenes, get their proper appraisal. And I'm not saying it would be different to what they've said publicly, but you need to know exactly where they're at. You need to do a proper review, get a full picture of it, and make that call. What would I do? You know what? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I think it's been a disappointing series. You can't get away from that. I think Shaun would be the first to say, when you select a squad, you will always come under scrutiny at international level. And having lost 3-0 and the issues, I think a lot of the players we've spoke about, there's merit to say there was a mistake not picking them, and he'll have to take that. But ironically, you're going back to the whole credit in the bank, don't you? And he did get series whitewashing against Tonga and Samoa. So,
I mean, look, he's been in charge now, Jimmy, since 2020, I think. So he's had 5 years. You're heading into a World Cup. There's no time next year for an international mid-season test.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think it would be a smart move to try and find somebody else, knowing that the first time he really gets a hold of that team is going to be a warm-up game before a World Cup. I mean, obviously, you've played under many different coaches. Do you think that sticking with Shaun is the right thing, or do you think there's a gap there but I mean, who would even come in?
There's loads of people who want that job. I'm not in a position to say, but there's loads of people who want that job.
Any good ones?
Yeah. Good coaches want that job.
Come on.
I can't say. All I can say in the last week, there's a lot
What does the names rhyme with?
I'm not saying. There's a lot of good coaches who want that job.
Oh, right.
Look, I don't think I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
It's whether Shaun Wane's the right man or not. That's the first thing you got to decide.
I think you like any sporting organisation after a series or a season, that they would have a review process. But I'm very much of, you've got to keep Shaun Wane in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to keep him in. He does have credit in the bank, and I think like 12 months away from a World Cup, you've got to let him see out that tournament. You know, where England rank in terms of how, like, you know, on paper for, or, you know, if you were putting up a market now for where they'd be, like realistically they'd probably be 5th. But like you say, he's got credit in the bank where he's beaten Tonga and beaten Samoa. So yeah, I think stick with him.
What does he? Sorry, Matt. What does he learn from then? Because, you know, the next time he has his team together, it's going to be World Cup, isn't it?
Well, he's got to.
What does he learn?
He's got to work out whether the camp was right. And when I say the camp, was the location right? Was the amount of time they had inside the four walls of the camp right? Do they need more free time? Do they need less free time? Do they need to train more? Do they need to train less? He's got to work out all those things. And I'm sure there will be lessons in there. And in fairness to him, he said after the first test, didn't he, there were things he didn't get right with the training in the build up to that game. So, and I think Shaun Wane, let's be honest, he's honest, isn't he? He will know where they've got things wrong.
And I think as well, there's a big difference between a home tour and how you navigate that versus going away.
Right.
Like there's no, I'll give the lads 2 days off to go and spend with their families. It's you're away for a long time. A World Cup likely to be, if England make the final, a 7-week campaign, if not longer, with the build up as well.
Yeah.
So look, it's a long time away from home. I've seen that go really well, and I've seen it be beyond awful.
Talk us through that then.
I was just going to say, stay with you on that then. So obviously, I'm assuming 2017, given how that team was, I'm assuming that was where it probably went at its best.
Yes.
Has there been tours or times in your career with England where it's been the complete opposite?
Oh yeah. And the tour I'm talking about is 2008. Like, again, you look at regret, and like for the players that we had on paper, we were nowhere near we were not connected as a team one bit.
Was that sort of Leeds Saints divide time?
Well, mate, like, so not just Leeds Saints divide, it was Leeds Saints rivalry. Like, we were playing for every major trophy for a period of about 3 to 4 years there. Like, the rivalry was intense. So Leeds beat us in the 2008 grand final. John Wilkin comes out after that game and says, "I'd like to congratulate 16 Leeds players." And obviously perks up and was like, what do you mean 16? He goes, I can't thank Ryan Bailey. Can't congratulate him. Right. And they're both in the England team.
Yeah.
In the England squad. And it's like, oh, hang on. Like, never got addressed. So I think there was 7 players from Leeds, I think 6 from St. Helens. And we just, so Tony Smith is a coach. He's also the coach of Leeds.
Yes.
We were probably why is Daniel Anderson not coaching us? He said he'd want to. So we were on the Daniel Anderson campaign. We were completely different styles of football, how we played. So St. Helens, a little bit more structure. Leeds, very offload, intense style of football. We were very different away from the field. St. Helens boys, whether it was right or it was wrong, we did enjoy spending time in, like, drinking together. And Leeds probably weren't like that. And Tony Smith is in charge, and like, he didn't address it. He just thought it was going to happen, and it was honestly it was actually the first meeting was actually quite embarrassing, like pulling us together. And look, I'll take some responsibility. I was only 23. I just turned 24. So look, I'm old enough to have an opinion, and I certainly did. But we get to this meeting. Sorry, just as well, on that, it was like, are you going to play Danny Maggs or are you going to play Leon Price?
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, hard. Like, what do you do? Like, we talk about selections. Like that, like, Weller at fullback, does Pricey drop back? Like, do you, like, there's me, Mars, JP moved to an edge, probably not as, like, but Tony Smith, first meeting, like, right, lads, it's your tour. You make the rules. Like, okay. And then a few said, oh, look, I'm not going to, some players said, look, I'm not going to drink on this tour. So, all right, okay. Well, but, all right, so some part I'm going to drink. Then we sort of bumbling around with these, like quote unquote rules. And then we're just about to wrap up. And then Tony Smith had asked, like, one of his staff, I can't remember who it was, What about wearing flip-flops? Right. What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, and no joke, we spent about 15 minutes debating what the use of flip-flops looked like. We
Were you allowed to drink in flip-flops then?
Anyway, and Tony Smith, the only thing, and I've thought very deeply about this, he didn't want to connect us. He wanted to out-coach Australia.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to, unless we were connected and bought in, we were never going to do this. And, you know, I'll tell you this story, like at the end of the tour, like we lose the semi-final against New Zealand. And you know the question he asked, is anyone going to go out drinking tonight? Because I don't think you should.
Bizarre.
And I'm looking around and I'm 24. And I just went, Tony, I'm going to go out.
Well, what does he expect?
Well, and then he asked, what time are you going to get in? I said, I don't know. But it's the end of a long season. Tomorrow is the first time where there is no things to do after. So, and I said, Tony, listen, mate, what time I get in, and whether I choose to go out or just stay in the hotel is not the issue. The rugby is the issue. Yeah. I said, like, look, this tour has been a joke. It's been embarrassing. Like, we were just not connected. And people can argue about whether you need to use alcohol to connect players. It is a great vehicle, a social vehicle for that. Not everybody drinks, that's respectful, and there are other ways. But the fact that so many issues just not addressed, because I think it came down to his ego that he wanted to outcoach this Australian side. And again, I am not by any stretch. I take some accountability for how I was on that tour, my attitude towards Tony Smith, the Leeds boss, and we sort of did patch it up in 09, but you compare it to the 2017 tour group. You know, Wayne Bennett, it's his first time in charge. Everyone's a bit nervous. He goes, lads, I've got 2 rules. Don't get arrested.
Fair enough.
Right? And he goes, Jammer, Sam, Sean O'Loughlin, if anyone does, I'm going to be pissed off at you 3 for letting it happen, for not having your teammates back. Second rule, don't be late. He goes, because if you're late, you're saying your time is more important than everyone else's time. So, oh God. Now, don't get me wrong. There was some caveats to that. Yeah. Like, take your hat. No, he didn't want people wearing hats. Why? And at meal times.
Okay, yeah, old school. Take
your hats off at mealtime. And in terms of, like, he did say you travel in closed shoes. Like, so the way, but like, we're deliberating. But and in terms of, we did an army camp. Like, we did a long season. We did like an army day rather. Brought everyone together, and then we just went out and had a beer in Perth together. And like from there on, bang, we're on. Yeah. We're into it. And I compare it to the challenges that we faced in 08. Like you could not have seen a group more divided. There was times where it was like, oh, you got the day off today, and it would just be like the Saints lads would go one way, Leeds lads go the other. We bought a couple of stragglers with us. You know, Mickey Heim, who used to play with us at Saints, he came. You know, and
I think that's one thing that people or maybe some fans kind of don't realise. I think when you're away from home as a group of young men, that it is important that you have to enjoy each other's company, can't you? There cannot be a divide. There cannot be. It just can't work. And whatever that looks like, it's just so important that you enjoy each other's company away. Isn't it?
It's just normal social setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of any work community, you all want that work hard, play hard, right? That's the ideal balance. Doesn't matter what you're doing, rugby or an office job or whatever.
Your culture, your environment, and look, if it whatever it was, but it was just never. We were never together as a team. No. There was no level of like. Look, don't get me wrong. We tried hard, but Tony just kept trying to pepper us with they're not that good. They're not that good. And it's like, well, they've got some immortals playing for them. So they actually are. They've got some pretty decent players as far as I'm aware, what I've seen. But, we've got some good players as well. Yeah. We've got some English spirit that we come together, united as one. And, probably it wasn't until I can remember, I'll tell a story about in the changing room. I was the only one to put my hand up. There was plenty of others that went out. In fact, it was basically the whole side went out. Oh, nice one, Jam. I was like, where was the support? Anyway, so then we've gone out to this nightclub in Brisbane, come back, and there was drinks in the hotel room. And I remember it was the first time we were all getting on. Yeah. we were going home. Oh, no. First time we were all getting on. I remember distinctively Kev Sinfield, he looked at me, and Kev is not a big drinker, and it doesn't always need to be that way. He goes, Jamie, we should have done this the first night we got here. And I was like, I know. But that, I guess these are things that you learn from. But when we look at what's at stake now for Shaun Wane, he needs to make sure that camp is set up, that lads are loving being with each other,
not dreading going to camp.
Well, not dreading it, but it's while you're there, you want to stay longer. We look at reasons why teams win. That England v Tonga semi-final in 2017 over in Auckland, they were coming for us. And you know what probably got us over the line? We wanted another week together.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that to be over. Oh. I wanted another week together.
It was incredible, that game. 2018, I think, wasn't it?
2017.
2017.
No,
the result was 2018,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Nice.
But those pictures were unbelievable. I remember you watching it at home thinking it must have been unreal playing. It's got to be one of your favourite games.
Oh, the atmosphere, still the best atmosphere I've ever played at. And I'm including in that grand finals at Old Trafford, grand finals at Stadium Australia, grand finals at Challenge Cup finals at Wembley. The atmosphere was rocking. And I'll tell you, so after that game, I know there's a bit of a whisper out there that this 2017 World Cup from England was lads on tour. But that's not right. We worked hard, and then we gave it a nudge, and we enjoyed each other's company, and I'd like to think we still delivered. After that game, we lose Hodgie, we lose Lockers, we're shattered, and then me and Sam sort of said to each other, right, we have had a good time, but let's dial in the focus now. Let's go and see Wayne and say, should we drop the boozing tonight? We're in Auckland, we're flying to Brisbane tomorrow. So me and Sam bounce over to Wayne and say, look, Wayne, we've been having a bit of a chat, and we think maybe let's do put a bit of a booze ban on. And he just goes, no. I said, I'm bearing in mind he doesn't drink. He's like, no. And we're like, why? He's like, because I'm not treating you like kids. Men, make the right call. I'm not gonna enforce it. If you don't want to have a drink, don't. But I am not addressing the room and saying no one's allowed to go out.
That would almost feel like a trick question, though, wouldn't it?
Reverse psychology.
Do you know what I mean?
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder what the conversation between you and Sam for the next 10 minutes after that meeting went.
We're going. Guess we're on.
No, but look again. Going back to next year's World Cup, and if it is under Shaun Wane, I asked earlier what could he learn about, what he could do maybe differently. Jammer, just the players themselves. There's a lot of players that had never played against Australia before, so does that help them for next time around?
Absolutely, it does. Like I say, Kyle, a player can fall into the trap of not feeling like they belong and they share the stage with them. And, you know, you watch, like a lot of players, I would feel that they would see highlight reel stuff of Reece Walsh, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Otino, Fasuma Malawi, Hudson Young. All like you see the highlights, and you think that's what's happening every week, but they miss tackles. You know, they make knock-ons, but you're never really reminded of that. Like you and it takes sometimes just being out there to go, oh yeah. Like I'm sure there'll be, and there are some positives around what England did. Like Australians' defense was great, but we restricted that attack to a level of frustration.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
just some moments that we just clocked off.
There was a couple of 10-minute spells, wasn't it, in game 1, game 2? Obviously, the last sort of quarter of game 3 was where the damage was done, really. But okay, well, we are sort of heading towards the end of time. But for the World Cup next year, what is the minimum standard for England to achieve? Where do they? Jammer mentioned there, if you were ranking them now, you would probably have them down at 5th. New Zealand, Australia, Samoa, Tonga, Papua New Guinea will be better again, won't they? You would feel. Where do they realistically? Where does that team have to get to in order for it to say the World Cup is a success for England?
And this
considering where we are now.
This was probably where I'm like, do we all need to step back and manage expectations a little bit, right? So I think the format next year is 2 groups of 5, isn't it? 2 will go through straight to semis. There's a scenario where England play Australia and Samoa in the groups. So to get through the group, they have to beat one of them, or it could be New Zealand and Tonga. That's probably the reality of the situation. Does anyone expect England to get through that? So for me, I'm probably going semi-finals, a good achievement.
Like if we make the semis.
That's an achievement, I would think. However, I appreciate people over here won't see it like that. They will think final as the bare minimum. The thing where I think that we're all forgetting, we've got a set up next year where there's no international break. There's no break in the season whatsoever next year. Not 1 week off.
No.
Nothing for internationals. No War of the Roses return, as keeps getting talked about. No camps barely take place. They have a few meetings. To give England the best chance, I think that all those things need to happen. They're not. So do we have to be realistic and go, actually, there's a much bigger picture here and we're not giving England a chance of succeeding? I personally don't.
It's a great point.
I don't think we are, if I'm honest.
Isn't it? It's a great point because this group aren't going to essentially. They're going to have a couple of sit-down meetings. Is that going to do anything for them heading into a World Cup? Essentially, apart from getting together and having a bite to eat and a bit of a recovery or whatever it is they'll do.
It's really hard that because you come together at the end of the year. We don't know who's going to be fit, who's going to be informed, whether or not that matters or it doesn't. But let's maybe just embrace that underdog tag, and maybe that's got to be the theme for it. Like
Shaun Wane is very good at that as well.
Like, listen, we're not even getting the backing of our own. Whoever's in charge of the RFL. Super
nobody's
League,
going to give them a chance. Right?
They're not giving us a week together. Look, they're not prioritising you. You're going over there. You're 5th. The odds makers are giving you 5th favourites. No one's giving you a chance. So look at this podcast where they're saying, have that drive. And then I think if you look at learnings, well, the learnings are you've got to be switched on in every moment because quality opposition will make you pay, and we need to figure out ways to finish off chances and be better in the opposition red zone.
Well, that's us here at Back 10 as you know it. We are wrapped up for season 2025. We will be back early next year in 2026. But the show will take a break from All Out Rugby League for a couple of weeks, and then we will be back bringing you more and more content. Keep commenting as you always do each and every week. Hit that hype button, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything here at All Out Rugby League. But for now, Thank you so much to everybody who's helped get this up and off the ground. The numbers have keep growing each and every week, and that's down to you guys at home interacting and supporting everything we do. So from myself, Matt, and James, Graham, have a wonderful Christmas. You and your loved ones, all the best for the rest of the year, and we'll see you next season. Well, this episode of Back 10 was brought to you by Smart Energy GB, leading the smart meter rollout across Great Britain. And don't forget, you can tackle your energy use head on with a smart meter so you can find smarter ways to save at home. Take care. Bye-bye for now.